You're about to discover one of the most chilling maritime mysteries ever recorded. A ship found sailing the Atlantic Ocean completely intact, with cargo undisturbed, personal belongings untouched, and absolutely no trace of the 10 people who should have been aboard. What happened to the crew of the Mary Celeste remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the sea, and the evidence we have defies every rational explanation. Before we dive deep into this incredible story, drop a comment below and tell us where you're watching from and how the weather is there today. We love connecting with fellow mystery enthusiasts from around the world. On December 4, 1872, Captain David Morehouse of the merchant vessel Dei Grazia spotted something unusual on the horizon between Spain and Portugal. A ship was sailing erratically, zigzagging through the choppy Atlantic waters with no apparent direction. As they drew closer, Morehouse recognized the vessel. It was the Mary Celeste, a brigantine he knew well. But something was terribly wrong. The Mary Celeste should have been carrying Captain Benjamin Briggs, his wife Sarah, their 2-year-old daughter Sophia, and 7 experienced crew members on a routine voyage from New York to Genoa, Italy. The ship was loaded with 1,701 barrels of denatured alcohol, a valuable cargo worth significant money. Captain Briggs was no novice. He was an experienced mariner from a family of sea captains, known for his competence and reliability. When Morehouse's crew boarded the Mary Celeste, they discovered something that would haunt maritime history forever. The ship was completely abandoned, yet perfectly seaworthy. The cargo was intact and properly secured. Personal belongings remained undisturbed in the cabins. Captain Briggs' sword hung in its usual place, undrawn. His wife's jewelry and sewing materials lay exactly where she'd left them. The ship's papers were missing, except for the logbook, and one of the lifeboats was gone, but that was the only sign that the crew had deliberately left the vessel. Here's what makes this mystery truly baffling. There was no sign of violence, no blood, no struggle of any kind. The galley showed evidence of a recently prepared meal. Water and provisions remained plentiful aboard. The ship's hull was sound, with only minor water damage in the hold. Certainly nothing that would force an experienced crew to abandon ship. Most puzzling of all, the last entry in the ship's log was dated November 25, 9 days before the Dei Grazia found her, and it indicated fair weather and normal sailing conditions. What mysterious force could make 10 people vanish from a perfectly functional ship in the middle of the ocean? Let's examine the evidence that maritime investigators have puzzled over for more than 150 years. The condition of the Mary Celeste when found tells us crucial details about what might have happened. The ship's rigging showed some damage, but nothing catastrophic. Several sails were missing or torn, suggesting the vessel had been sailing unmanned through rough weather for days. The compass was destroyed, and the ship's clock had stopped. In the captain's cabin, investigators found an impression on the bed, as if someone had been lying there recently. Most intriguingly, the cargo hold contained several feet of water, but this wasn't enough to sink the ship or create immediate danger. However, 9 of the alcohol barrels were found to be empty, their contents apparently leaked or spilled. Some investigators wondered if the fumes from the denatured alcohol might have created a dangerous situation that forced the crew to evacuate temporarily. But here's where the mystery deepens. If the crew had abandoned ship temporarily due to alcohol fumes or fear of explosion, why didn't they return? The weather had been fair, and an experienced captain like Briggs would have known that denatured alcohol, while dangerous, wasn't likely to explode in the open air. Moreover, abandoning a perfectly good ship for a small lifeboat in the middle of the Atlantic would be tantamount to suicide. What topic in ancient or maritime history absolutely baffles you? Drop it in the comments below, and we'll research it for a future video. Your curiosity drives our content. The official investigation into the Mary Celeste's abandonment raised more questions than answers. The British authorities who conducted the inquiry suspected foul play, particularly pointing fingers at Captain Morehouse and his crew. They theorized that Morehouse might have murdered the Briggs family and crew to claim salvage rights to the valuable ship and cargo. However, this theory fell apart under scrutiny. Morehouse and Briggs were friends and had dined together the night before their respective departures from New York. The timeline didn't support murder. The ships had sailed on different dates and taken different routes. The salvage court awarded Morehouse and his crew only a fraction of the ship's value, far less than typical salvage awards, suggesting the authorities remained suspicious but couldn't prove wrongdoing. The Mary Celeste was returned to service and continued sailing for 12 more years, though she gained a reputation as an unlucky ship that was difficult to crew. Some of the most compelling theories attempt to explain the abandonment through natural phenomena. One possibility involves the alcohol cargo creating dangerous fumes that might have convinced Captain Briggs to evacuate temporarily. The theory suggests that pressure building in the hold could have blown the forward hatch, creating a loud noise and releasing alcohol vapors that might have seemed to threaten explosion. In panic, the crew might have taken to the lifeboat with a rope attached to the ship, planning to return once the danger passed. A sudden squall could have snapped the rope, leaving them helplessly adrift while the Mary Celeste sailed on unmanned. This theory has merit because it explains several key pieces of evidence: the missing lifeboat, the damaged forward hatch, the alcohol fumes that would have been present, and the missing ship's papers that Briggs would have taken for insurance purposes. However, it requires us to believe that an experienced sea captain would make a fatal error in judgment, abandoning a seaworthy vessel for a small boat in open ocean. Another theory focuses on the possibility of seismic activity. The area where the Mary Celeste was sailing sits above active underwater geological formations. Some researchers suggest that an underwater earthquake or sudden seismic event could have created phenomena that terrified the crew into abandoning ship. Seismic activity can cause strange noises, unusual water behavior, and even electromagnetic disturbances that might affect a ship's compass and other instruments. The waterspout theory presents another natural explanation. These powerful oceanic tornadoes can appear suddenly and create devastating localized conditions. A waterspout might have damaged the ship's rigging and created such terrifying conditions that the crew felt compelled to abandon ship, believing it was about to be destroyed. Yet this theory struggles to explain why the ship remained largely intact and seaworthy. But what if the answer lies in something far stranger than natural phenomena? Some researchers have pointed to the Mary Celeste's location when found, in waters that would later become associated with the infamous Bermuda Triangle. While the Bermuda Triangle concept wasn't formalized until the 20th century, the region has long been associated with unusual magnetic anomalies, strange weather patterns, and unexplained disappearances. Please like this video, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to our channel. Your subscription means the world to us, as we're still a young channel trying to grow and bring you the most fascinating maritime mysteries. Could electromagnetic anomalies in this region have affected the ship's compass and created disorientation among the crew? Some investigators have noted that the Mary Celeste's compass was found pointing in an unusual direction, and the ship's chronometer had stopped working. While these could be explained by the ship sailing unmanned through rough weather, they might also indicate exposure to unusual electromagnetic fields. The human element of this mystery makes it even more haunting. Captain Benjamin Briggs left behind detailed letters to his mother, describing his confidence in the voyage and his crew. He was carrying his family because he expected a routine, safe journey to Italy. Sarah Briggs had written to her mother-in-law about her excitement for the trip and her plans to show little Sophia the sights of Europe. These weren't people planning to disappear. They were a family embarking on what should have been an adventure. The crew manifest reveals experienced sailors who had worked together before. First mate Albert Richardson was known for his competence and had sailed with Briggs previously. The men aboard were seasoned professionals, not green hands likely to panic in difficult conditions. This makes their disappearance even more inexplicable. These were people who understood the sea and knew how to handle maritime emergencies. Some of the most intriguing evidence comes from the condition of the ship's boats. The Mary Celeste carried 2 lifeboats, but only one was missing. The remaining boat was securely lashed and undamaged, suggesting that whatever prompted the crew to leave happened suddenly, but wasn't chaotic enough to prevent them from properly launching one lifeboat. This controlled abandonment is perhaps the most puzzling aspect of the entire mystery. The ship's galley provides another piece of the puzzle. Investigators found evidence of a meal in preparation, with food and utensils arranged as if the cook had simply stepped away momentarily. The stove was cold, suggesting the meal preparation had been interrupted hours or even days before the ship was found. Yet there was no sign of struggle or hasty departure from this area. Modern forensic analysis has attempted to solve the Mary Celeste mystery using contemporary investigative techniques. Researchers have analyzed the alcohol cargo more carefully, noting that denatured alcohol contains methanol, which can create toxic fumes under certain conditions. They've also studied weather patterns from 1872, trying to determine if unusual atmospheric conditions might have created circumstances we don't fully understand. One particularly intriguing modern theory involves the possibility of a seaquake, an underwater earthquake that can create tremendous noise and unusual wave patterns without necessarily damaging a ship's hull. Seaquakes can generate infrasound, low-frequency sound waves that can cause intense feelings of dread and panic in humans. If the Mary Celeste encountered such a phenomenon, the crew might have been gripped by inexplicable terror, leading them to abandon what they perceived as a doomed vessel. The timing of the abandonment offers crucial clues. The ship's log indicates normal conditions through November 25th, when the Mary Celeste was off the coast of Portugal. Weather records from the region show that a significant storm system moved through the area in the following days. If the crew abandoned ship during or just before this storm, it would explain why they were never found. A small lifeboat would have had no chance of survival in rough Atlantic waters. Yet this raises another question. Why would experienced sailors abandon ship before a storm rather than riding it out on a much larger, more stable vessel? The Mary Celeste was built to handle rough weather, and Captain Briggs would have known this. Something extraordinary must have convinced him that staying aboard posed a greater risk than taking to the lifeboats. The psychological impact of isolation at sea cannot be underestimated. Even experienced sailors can fall victim to maritime hallucinations, strange auditory phenomena, and the psychological pressure of extended ocean voyages. Could the entire crew have experienced some form of shared psychosis or mass hysteria that led them to make an irrational decision? While this seems unlikely given their experience, the ocean environment can affect human psychology in ways we're only beginning to understand. Some researchers have explored the possibility that the Mary Celeste encountered something in the water, perhaps a massive sea creature, debris from another wreck, or unusual oceanographic phenomena that created conditions the crew had never experienced before. The Atlantic Ocean in 1872 was far less traveled and understood than today, and sailors regularly encountered phenomena they couldn't explain. What part of this story intrigues you the most? Do you think the crew made a rational decision based on information we're missing, or did something truly unexplainable occur in those waters? And what do you make of the fact that little Sophia Briggs' toys were found neatly arranged in the cabin, as if she'd been playing just moments before everyone vanished? Share your theories in the comments below. The Mary Celeste mystery has inspired countless theories over the decades, from the plausible to the fantastic. Pirates were initially suspected, but there was no evidence of violence, and the valuable cargo remained untouched. Mutiny seemed possible until investigators realized the crew's personal belongings were still aboard. Mutineers would have taken their possessions. Insurance fraud was considered, but Captain Briggs owned shares in the ship and cargo, making it financially disadvantageous for him to lose either. More exotic theories have suggested everything from sea monsters to alien abduction, but these fail to explain the controlled nature of the abandonment and the lack of damage to the ship. The evidence points to a deliberate decision to leave the Mary Celeste, made by people who believed they had good reason to do so. The fate of the 10 people who vanished from the Mary Celeste was never determined. No bodies were ever recovered, no wreckage from their lifeboat was found, and no survivor ever came forward with an account of what happened. They simply disappeared as completely as if the ocean had swallowed them whole, leaving behind only questions that continue to puzzle maritime experts today. Perhaps the most unsettling aspect of the Mary Celeste mystery is how it challenges our understanding of human behavior in crisis situations. We expect maritime disasters to leave clear evidence: damage, debris, signs of struggle or panic. The Mary Celeste gives us none of these things. Instead, it presents us with a perfectly preserved moment in time, as if 10 people simply chose to step out of existence. The mystery has influenced maritime law, leading to changes in how abandoned vessels are investigated and claimed. It has also become a cultural touchstone for the unexplained, inspiring countless stories, books, and theories. Yet despite more than a century and a half of investigation, analysis, and speculation, we're no closer to understanding what really happened aboard the Mary Celeste. Recent technological advances have allowed researchers to study the ship's remains and historical records with unprecedented detail. Wood samples have been analyzed for signs of unusual chemical exposure. Weather patterns have been reconstructed using modern meteorological techniques. Ocean currents have been mapped to determine the possible drift patterns of both the ship and any lifeboats. Still, the mystery endures. The Mary Celeste reminds us that even in our modern age of satellite tracking, constant communication, and advanced navigation, the ocean remains largely unknown and unpredictable. In 1872, ships could vanish into the Atlantic and not be found for months or years. The vastness of the ocean could swallow entire crews without leaving a trace, just as it apparently did with the 10 souls who sailed away from the Mary Celeste into oblivion. What makes this case particularly compelling for modern investigators is the quality of the evidence that remains. Unlike many historical mysteries where facts have been distorted by retelling, the Mary Celeste was thoroughly documented by British maritime authorities. Court records, witness testimonies, and physical evidence provide a clear picture of the ship's condition when found. This abundance of reliable evidence makes the mystery more, not less, puzzling. The story forces us to confront the limits of human knowledge and the persistent mysteries that surround us. Despite our technological advances and scientific understanding, we cannot definitively explain what happened to 10 people on a November day in 1872. The Mary Celeste stands as a reminder that some questions may never be answered, no matter how thoroughly we investigate or how advanced our methods become. In the end, the Mary Celeste mystery endures because it touches something fundamental about human nature: our need to understand, to solve puzzles, to make sense of the inexplicable. The ship sailed into history as more than just a maritime disaster. It became a symbol of the unknown, a reminder that even in our interconnected world, mysteries still exist that challenge everything we think we know about the sea and those who sail upon it. Like this video if you found this mystery as fascinating as we do. Comment with your theories about what really happened to the Mary Celeste's crew, and subscribe for more incredible stories from the depths of maritime history. Your engagement helps us continue uncovering these amazing historical mysteries. The Mary Celeste was eventually sold and continued sailing under various owners until 1885, when it was deliberately wrecked off the coast of Haiti in an insurance fraud scheme. Even in its final fate, the ship seemed destined for mystery and controversy. But the questions surrounding that December day in 1872 remain as compelling today as they were when Captain Morehouse first spotted the ghost ship sailing alone across the Atlantic. Whether the answer lies in natural phenomena we don't yet understand, human psychology under extreme stress, or something else entirely, the Mary Celeste continues to remind us that the ocean keeps its secrets well. 10 people stepped into history and disappeared forever, leaving behind only questions that may never be answered and a mystery that refuses to be solved.